So, hello everybody to our small webinar today, talking about the future of new business building, kind of key success factors for 2025 and beyond. So, what we observed and experienced in the last months, working with corporates, how they approach business building right now, and what we as a venture studio also think is required to set up new businesses, new growth opportunities the right way in 2025. A bit about ourselves. My name is Matthias. I'm co-founder and CEO of Fast Break One. We are one venture studio here based in Germany, and we are specialized on the whole topic about platforms, ecosystems, and AI, and helping corporates setting up new ventures, setting up new businesses, new growth opportunities, and help them also to scale them. And in our webinar today, I will try to show you three main observations. First is what we call the new alignment. Then second is talking about ecosystem strategy. I mean, maybe you have heard about ecosystem strategy, but I will tell you a bit more what we think is an ecosystem strategy and how you can leverage this kind of thinking to explore new opportunities. And of course, nowadays you need to talk about AI because AI is key for doing innovation. So we will talk about how we think AI will accelerate and streamline the whole front end of innovation. So before we go into the details and the three observations, a bit about Fast Break One. As I said, we are a venture studio. We have multiple outlets in different locations, for example, in Marseille, London, Amsterdam. We are founders owned and founders run. This means we all are serial founders. We have built our own businesses in the past and experienced from in different positions what it takes to build a successful business. And nowadays we work with corporates. You see some logos on the right-hand side across any kind of industries and markets. But our specialty is the whole topic about platforms and marketplaces. Nowadays, we are two business units at Fast Break One. One is the venture studio, where we help companies to discover, validate, but also build and scale platforms. We also have there a kind of an advisory arm where we talk about the strategy, doing assessments, etc. And we have also an academy, an educational part where we educate leaders around the whole topic about platforms, network effects, etc. And beside the studio, we have launched an own platform called Venture AI, and this is a bit about disrupt yourself approach here. So we see also that AI can be leveraged to do a lot of innovation processes much faster, much leaner. And with the Venture AI platform, we provide a platform to innovation teams in venture building, in venture investing, in venture clienting, and to use pre-built agents, workflows, etc., to streamline their work. As I said, we have many customers in different locations, but mainly our footprint is here in Europe, but we work across any kind of industry, so we are industry agnostic. All right, that's a little bit about background about who we are, and gives you also a bit of an understanding why we can talk about the different topics, because we are talking to a lot of innovation and venturing teams. And this is what we learned. And the first learning is about what we call the new alignment. And maybe you remember in the past, when you talk to companies and they have a kind of a growth strategy and an investment strategy, then they specifically have three major departments. One is called venture clienting, where they partner with startups. They do startup scouting and they partner with startups. The second one is an M&A department, where they also scout startups, potential investment startups, where they then at the end, when it's successful, invest, taking shares of those startups. And then a third one, it's called venture building or venture creation, when they have a department talking, mainly working on building their own new ventures, their own new startups, by exploring topics, identifying, validating those demand sides, and creating business models and building up businesses. But mainly what we observed is that those three departments are kind of independent departments. But I think this is the wrong approach. And I mean, this was maybe necessary in the past, because you never know, you cannot maybe as a corporate go in all three directions at the same time. So they started maybe historically in one area with maybe clienting or with investing or with building. And over the time, they build up the three approaches and then grow them as separate organizations and departments. But nowadays, if you really want to approach new business building, then you have to align them. And that's why we call this whole movement the new alignment. And why is this so important to do? When you take a step back and you look at different inflection points of new business models in the last 150 years, then you see maybe in the industrial economy, there were some kind of product-focused companies with automation in production. Then they could produce a lot of products and they pushed the products to the markets. Later on, they also discovered the opportunity to bring on top service-based business models, aftermarket sales, etc. And then in the digital economy, we have seen the rise of the platform economy, and the whole platform topics and marketplaces like Amazon, Facebook, and co. But also a lot more of them. We have done a recent study about B2B platforms in Europe, and we discovered only in B2B more than 1,000 platforms and marketplaces alone here in Europe. So you see also this business model is totally understood by people. And now we see the next inflection point, which is more related to ecosystem economy and AI focused. But really, what is really standing out here of this illustration is that you see the time between each inflection point becomes shorter and shorter. So you need to also increase the speed to reinvent your business model or to update your business model and think about new business models as well. So the pressure is on for the companies. So you don't have the time to do whatever you have done in the past. No, you now need to accelerate. And many companies, when we talk to them, they understand reinventing my business model is about cutting costs, saving margins. So they see maybe they have a business, the typical S-curve, and on top of the S-curve, it kind of flattens, the growth flattens, and then they start thinking about, okay, how can we save our margins? And the only way to do this is by cutting some kind of costs, improving the processes, etc. So managers, when you talk to managers are very well trained in squeezing out the last percentages of margins of any kind of processes, but it's still focusing on the current business. It's not thinking about new business. So really thinking about reinvention means thinking beyond your current business and thinking about what can be the next S-curve of growth. And McKinsey has also done very good a study in the last year, and it talked about what is as a CEO, what is your top priority today? And on the right-hand side, you see they have done the same survey some years ago, between 2017, 2019, and then 30% of the CEOs said new business building is our #1 strategic priority. And when you fast forward to 2024, then it's now 52% of the CEOs saying, oh no, we feel the pressure, we see we need to accelerate, we see all the the reasons why we need to focus on some new stuff. So 52% of those leaders say this is now our top priority going into the next years. And as I said in the beginning, in the intro, when you talk about new business and you want to transform your core, or you want to initiate something new, you have always those three major options: buy, build, or partner. So you can buy a startup, you can buy something, you can also buy something more mature, not only a startup, but also maybe a mature business, but you can buy it, so you invest it, so you take your money you have, which is a very fast approach because the business is already there, you can already check, but it's also very expensive because the business already exists. So the downside is it's very, very expensive because also the startups or the mature businesses know you are in the hurry to find something. And if you are in the hurry, then you're also maybe, open to invest more instead of building your own ones. And this is the second option, build. This takes, of course, a bit longer, most of the time 3 to 5 years to build a viable new business, and depends a bit on your leadership agenda and how much time you have. It takes a while. It's cheaper, but it also requires long-term perspective, but also finding the right talents, bringing in entrepreneurial talents, and of course also finding the right business model. Or on the other side, this is the partnering approach, also called venture clienting, where you say mainly, hey, we have an asset as a corporate. We have, for example, a huge customer base, and partnering with a startup gives us the chance to allow the startup to sell their product to our customer base. And on the other side, my motivation is that I'm seen innovative because I'm incorporating this innovative product or service from the startup into my portfolio. So kind of semi-innovate my portfolio. This downside is, of course, it's not yours. It's still a separate entity, and they can also partner with other companies. But it's a good approach and also a very cheap approach. And this is why a lot of corporates right now refocusing a lot regarding partnering because it's very, very cheap, especially under the current economic situations. They don't really have to invest money, but they can invest by opening up their CRM, their own customer book. And we also see, and this is a very good statistic here, an analysis, what kind of innovation models the current corporates are using. And then you see they are running an hybrid approach. So corporate venturing means really investing in new business building, but also partnering, but also maybe creating your own venture capital fund, or maybe buying external startups. So we see there is a maturity in how corporates now handle new business building, and they are approaching a dual or a hybrid strategy, following multiple paths at the same way. And this is exactly going in the observation we see. It's not, you cannot win by in venturing by only following one strategy. You need to follow a dual or hybrid strategy to try to find the next S curve of the three strategies. So that's why we see this is for us the big alignment here. And the big alignment requires not only to say, yes, they need to work together. Then when you go back to the teams, they tell you, yes, of course, we already talk to each other. We have regular meetings and talk to each other. No, but when you talk a real alignment, this also requires an aligned strategy where you say, okay, in which directions, in which areas we want to invest, build, partner, or buy startups or new businesses, and how all of those activities are really aligned with each other. And this is a good chart also indicating a bit like where can what kind of tool or what kind of strategy I can follow or should follow when it comes to early investments or scale up investments. So in which kind of phase or horizon I want to look at, and how long it takes for you to follow this kind of strategy or model. And this is also a good chart showing you that some of those things like, I can digitalize my service or product is maybe still focusing on your core innovation, your core product, but with venture building, M&A, your capital or venture or clienting, you are more focusing on new markets, on really Horizon 2, Horizon 3, new businesses or disruption. So where you really try to build up a new S-curve. Everything else, like running an accelerator, running an incubator, or again, digitalizing your service and products, is still focusing on Horizon 1 and will not really give you a chance to leapfrog or maybe build the next S-curve. So this should be also clear for you, depending on what you want to, where you want to go, then pick the right tools. And here, this is a good link to our second point. I would like to mention that the second observation is about ecosystem thinking. And a lot of people right now talk about ecosystem thinking, but we should be clear what we mean when we talk about ecosystem thinking. And in our case, when we talk about ecosystem, we mean the market. Maybe you have seen some analysis by McKinsey or others, and they're talking about that the boundaries between industries are more and more blurring. And this is also what we see. And this is why we call, and the market is for us more like an ecosystem. And I give you an example and some more examples after this chart. For example, when you look at Airbnb as a platform, they launched. And maybe you could say this is the travel industry. But nowadays, they also not just renting out rooms, but now they also help you to find the right partners on site when you travel, for sightseeing, for entertainment, for socializing, etc. So the market is not going from just having a room somewhere, but it's broadening into the whole ecosystem around travel or recreation. And this is what we think, this is the ecosystem approach, the ecosystem perspective you need to bring in. To think bigger, it's not just this small product or service, it's really more attached and all the complementary parts from a consumer perspective. And for me as a consumer, could be B2B or B2C, what are relevant and complementary areas around this whole topic. And with this understanding, then you can also work backwards and say, this is my current positioning in this market ecosystem, and where do I think are relevant, adjacent new topics, and I should invest. I should maybe search for partners or maybe build my own businesses in there, depending on what kind of criticality I believe is this kind of position in the next years. So you go away from a traditional approach where you invest in separate ventures and in separate startups and try to grow them from maybe a star into a cash cow or something like that, more into like, okay, where I want to be in this ecosystem in the next years. Some examples here. So for example, we work with IKEA, and IKEA is now, of course, mainly known because of their furniture. And now they're thinking about, okay, how can we further grow? And their approach was, how can I go from an average 3 visits in our stores by a customer to a kind of a daily interaction with our customers? And when you think about, okay, daily interactions, then daily interaction means not buying every day a new furniture, but then you have to broaden your perspective. And then it means the ecosystem for IKEA is living at home. And when you start thinking about this ecosystem living at home, then it also broadens your understanding. Okay, from a consumer perspective, and I think about living at home, then this means, of course, also mobility, also healthcare, maybe entertainment, etc. So the whole living at home ecosystem is much, much broader instead of just the furniture. And then you start seeing opportunities and how those opportunities maybe also are linked to each other and can influence each other. Another example here is Continental. So we work with Continental, mainly known to a lot of you about as a supplier, a car supplier, tier 1 supplier, and tire producer. And they also asked us, okay, please, can you support us in thinking beyond tire? What else beyond the tire can we do? And when you look at the tire itself and you are caught in this small boundary of a tire, then you think about, I cannot really further digitalize the tire. Of course, I can measure the tire pressure or maybe the wear down of the tire, but hey, this is very limited. So of course, I can maybe create an app. It signals to you that the tire pressure is too low or whatever, but are the customers really paying a lot of money for this mini extra service? Very doubtful. And that's why it was very important for Conti to think beyond the tire and think about, okay, is the tire is part of a car, and the car is part of mobility. So if I grow my perspective and zoom out and see the mobility ecosystem, then I see also other opportunities to grow. And that's why we believe this ecosystems thinking is very, very important nowadays if you want to go further with your strategies of venture building. The same was also for La Poste. La Poste, very known, the French postal service company, and they also thought about, okay, what else can we do beyond delivering of kind of product or delivering of packages and so on. So they started about thinking, who are our customers? And so they thought about, okay, let's focus on elderly people. And elderly people, a main market, a main ecosystem, they also require other kind of services, finance, healthcare, but also about food, for example. And this was the starting point for La Poste to invest in venture building their own kind of food marketplace, where you can link local food suppliers with elderly people, and they can order local food from their neighbors, from a village 10 kilometers away, etc. Everything transported by La Poste. So they use their asset, the transportation, but they broaden their perspective to elderly people and what they want. And the same is also for Amadeus. Amadeus is also known as the platform for travel. So where you have your flights, and they started as a flight booking platform where you have your booking reference number. Nowadays, when you go to your travel agency, or you book your flight online, then you receive a booking reference, and with this booking reference, you can check in, you can route your luggage, etc., and you can trace your flights and stuff like that. So, and they also thought, okay, now this is in place, this works very well, we have grown our network, but how can we further grow? What else beyond the flight we can do to grow? And this was also important for them then to zoom out, look at the whole ecosystem, and become maybe a larger aggregator of travel journeys and all the travel journey elements beyond just the pure element of flight booking. So what we bring into our projects is this kind of strategy map here, this kind of ecosystem strategy map, where you outline, okay, let's focus on a specific consumer or customer segment and a specific kind of market and ecosystem, and let's break it down into some elements, the pies of the cake, and then let's evaluate and let's see who else is in this market, where do we see increasing demand in the next years, how will this ecosystem look like in the next 5 to 10 years, where do we see important control points, etc. And based on all of this analysis, you can make much better decisions where you see opportunities to grow, to evaluate those opportunities and make the selection about buy, build, or partner. And this is what you need to bring into what we call an agile strategy process. Some of the companies already have a strategy process, of course, but now you need to bring in this strategy process, this ecosystem thinking. Of course, you have running ventures and initiatives, but you have also, or you maybe initiate new ones, new business ventures based on your analysis or partnering options, etc. And in a continuous way, maybe every half a year or maybe every quarter, you need to update. You need to see, okay, where are we with our initiatives, but also how is this ecosystem evolving? I mean, this is not waiting for you. There are other competitors, there are also other entrants in this ecosystem. So how is this ecosystem further evolving over the year? So you need to follow them, and based on that, you need to have a kind of an agile adaptation of your strategy, and maybe de-investments, but also or maybe new investments and so on. And one element which we believe is very, very important and as key structural element is what we call the ecosystem growth board. And the ecosystem growth board is an organizational structure, a tool which kind of steers and governs those new growth initiatives and has a kind of an holistic perspective on everything. So in practice, it allocates and prioritizes the resources, the capital, the capabilities to those venture initiatives. How does it work? Important is, and this is also a very good learning, is you cannot run those new ventures inside of your organizations. You need to keep them outside. But how to keep the bridge, or how to build a bridge between your core organization and those new startups, those new ventures. And exactly therefore we create and we set up the growth board, the ecosystem growth board, and it consists of different kind of members. Members from the core organizations. It could be the head of strategy or head of innovation, the head of digital, everybody who is really in charge of driving growth in your company. And on the other side, it also is, the represented or consists of representatives from those different startups, those different ventures you have, and they can report and they should answer your questions where they are according to their timelines, according to their budgets, etc. And this important is that this growth board has is then at the end a very effective governance structure and has also dedicated budget. So it is independent from the core. So you don't always need to go back to the core and ask your CEO for new money or whatever. No, you park money inside of the growth board, let's say X millions, and then this dedicated budget can be allocated by the steering committee of the growth board. And this makes it very, very fast. And it also, of course, releases money only if certain startups achieve certain kind of milestones. Yes, milestone could be number of customers, number of revenue, or whatever. Whatever you agree on, then based on those milestones, then the steering board releases further money, further investments in those startups, or you pitch with a new investment to the steering committee and they can release the money. So it helps to be very, very effective and to align the different incentives between the different kind of stakeholders. So highly, highly effective, and we can only highly recommend to build up such tools, such kind of a growth board inside of your organization. And also a very interesting analysis by McKinsey. they also analyzed, okay, what is the return of investment of companies which are maybe building less than 3 businesses and versus those companies who have built more than 4 businesses. And as you can see in the chart, the return of investment is heavily growing if the more businesses you build. And this is, the analogy is here like new business building is like a muscle. If you go to the gym 1 or 2 or 3 times, then of course you can build some muscles, but only small ones. But if you go regularly into the gym, then you build some really strong muscles and you are becoming more effective in building your businesses. So you need to train business building. It's not enough just to invest or partner. You also need to build new businesses, because at the core of each successful company is a very strong innovation and new business building muscle. And this leads us to the third topic I would like to talk about, is the topic about AI at the front line and how AI is transforming the fuzzy front end of innovation. And as you see that AI, for us, it's really currently working like a new accelerator. It helps you to do innovation much faster, much smarter, much leaner. And of course, innovation also went through some other transformations in the past. Maybe in the last century, we talked about research and development. So you had a department working on products, new kind of research and development things, kind of breakthrough technologies. Then later on, you talked about systematic innovations where with the stage gates. And then later on, you talked about agile innovation, where people understood, okay, we need something like design thinking and lean startup approaches with the disciplines of desirability and viability and feasibility and stuff like that. So everything here was very, very important, that we further professionalized how we innovate. And now with the whole AI movement, we now see the next transformation coming up, and this is called the agentic innovation management. So AI is acting here like an accelerator. So it helps you to do market research in hours instead of weeks. It also helps you to maybe reduce external costs, or maybe I don't need to go to some external consultants to do an analysis. For me, I can use agents, I can use workflows to do that for me. It helps me to do smarter decisions. And of course, it helps you also to have higher success rates, because you can check from different perspectives your business models before you launch them. And you can also not just do validations much faster, but you can also, for example, build up landing pages via a click. You can do product testings via a click. So it accelerates massively how we innovate. And of course we still need to try to understand what exactly is the impact here, because we are just at the beginning of this new transformation, but we see this clearly coming. And so what we see here is how you, along the whole process of maybe strategy with ecosystem strategies, until validation, until launch, until scale, each organization has their own process, maybe playbooks. When you talk about venture studios, they have their own playbooks. Or even when you look at internal venture units, they have their own processes and venture playbooks and tools. And in each process, you can plug in AI agents, you can plug in workflows, you can have other kind of things like venture intelligence, where you have tons of data you can connect and can analyze via AI. So there are a lot of accelerators you can plug in into your process. Here are some examples how AI can really support the different groups. You see here in innovation teams, of course, conduct market research. It can automate ideations. It can validate, you have maybe synthetic users you build up. Recently, we worked with a company to build up a set of personas based on their company history. They learned a lot about their customers in the past and tracked everything. And now you can feed all the learnings from your customers in and create some kind of virtual users, synthetic users. And then if you have a new idea, you can go to this GPT and you can ask, hey, what do you think about this idea? And then based on all the learning, they can really give you a feedback like if they are real customers. So there's a lot of stuff you can do as an innovation team, but also as a venture team, venture group, M&A team. You can create investment memos. You can scout startups on a regular basis much easily. Think about a lot of companies are doing those innovation radars or innovation startup scoutings. Now they can do this. They can automate those things. Please create me a trend radar every 2 or 3 months via click. Then AI runs for some hours and then you have it. Instead of hiring external consultants to do this for you, and then they cost you hundreds of thousands of euro, and it takes 3 months for them to build. So you can really streamline a lot of those things, as you can see. And this is also why we started to build up our own platform, Venture AI, to go from those to create a new kind of a category, kind of service as a software. So you use the AI with agents, etc., to reduce all of those resources, to have maybe also instant communication. So you can always go back to the AI, ask questions, ask for further updates, maybe include some things in the analysis or exclude and so on. So at the end, it helps you to streamline going from months to days, or maybe reduce the consulting costs massively. And the important thing here is not what you maybe see tools like N8N or Maker or whatever, where you can create workflows. What we learned in building up our own agents is the business logic behind. So it's not about the flow and saying, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. This is automation. This is also what we have done in the past. But with AI agents and the business logic behind, you need to train specific agents to think like innovators, to think like entrepreneurs. Of course, you can ask ChatGPT right now, but an AI agent specified to act like an entrepreneur is still a bit of different. And this is what we started with the Venture AI platform, to have those very special agents trained with a specific business logic behind to follow to execute the different tasks. And another thing is, you also need to go through this, or you have different kind of options. So of course, the easiest thing is like asking for insights. For example, you upload some documents, or you create a data set where you can upload 10 market studies about the energy market, for example, and then you ask them, please summarize, please give me some insights. Or you can run some agents, and agents are more sophisticated things. So you ask them, hey, please analyze the market studies, but also identify market opportunities and evaluate those market opportunities and give me a list of the top 3 and the reasons why, something like that. Then the agent starts to look up, and you can hook in different kind of tools like the data set, but also other tools. And then the agent is orchestrating and performing the task. Or you can run some assistants, what we called right now assistants, which is like a flow of agents. So you can bundle the agents into kind of assistants, and then you have they are acting like a full team of agents for you. So you can really automate your playbook, and then you can say, okay, this is now the task for you to identify opportunities, evaluate them, coming back, and give me some suggestions where to invest. And this whole thing, including some human interactions, is then acting like your external consultant you have right now. So it's really an assistant, or Microsoft calls it the co-pilot, where you can really interact, and it gives you a lot of more feedback. And what we also believe is in the strength of the network effects. I mean, we are a platform company, so we think all the time about network effects. And so we also ask ourselves, how can we bring in network effects to those agents and workflows? And we bring in always this analogy to consultants. And if you have a junior consultant, and a junior consultant has performed a specific task, for example, in market research, 1, 2, or 3 times, that's why they are a junior consultant. But if they have conducted the market research 20 times, then they learned a lot. And based on all the learnings, they now do the 20th market research much better. And so they are becoming a senior consultant. And so we said, okay, how can we go from a junior agent to a senior agent? And this is also the feedback, the learnings. So the more organizations are using the platform and are using the agents and providing feedback, then the agents itself becoming better and better in what they are doing. And this is what we also implemented in our platform, collecting the feedback, not sharing the data itself, because the data is sensitive. You don't want to share the analysis of a specific market to another company. This is maybe this is also a good idea, but then you should have an agreement between the organizations. But nowadays, organizations don't want to share the data. But important is that you kind of think about the methodology itself and the approach, and to improve the approach by each run of the agent. And this is what we implemented here, and what we call kind of self-improving or self-learning agents. If you want, you can also join our community. So if you follow us on LinkedIn, we have a regular community called Agentic Innovation Community. And here we bring in heads of those innovation teams from different corporates, and they start to communicate with each other and talk about best practices, their approaches to applying AI inside of their organization. So if you're interested and you would like to exchange with other peers, with other people, then please join our community. Go to FastBreak.1 at LinkedIn, and then you see the events and you see our next community meetings, and feel free to join. Yeah, I'm now finished with my presentation. I will now also stop the recording before we go into a Q&A. Thank you for listening so far, and looking forward to your questions.